what's up, guys? It's Jake. It's been a while. I've been sort of putting music on the back burner for a while now. I've really gotten back into something that's a real big passion for me, which is motorcycles. I've always had dirt bikes and motorcycles around, but I hadn't had a street bike for a few years. When I went to buy my house in 2015, I actually sold my street bike for part of my down payment, and I just haven't gotten around to buying another one since. So it's been almost 3 calendar years that I haven't had one. I think it was like late July, and now in late June I just bought another bike. I got a 2017 Kawasaki KLR 650, and it's been a blast so far. I mean, I've only had it for like a week. I've put about 300 miles on it. I haven't gone anywhere crazy. I haven't done any crazy off-roading or anything like that. I'm waiting to get some crash bars and a skid plate and stuff before I get into off-roading it at all. But that's one of the goals of that bike for me. This is the first like true big dual sport that I've ever really owned. I've always had old two-stroke dirt bikes and stuff like that I've ridden off-road, and this is more of a street bike, but it's definitely off-road capable. I'm not sure if I'm going to change out the tires and stuff like that, but definitely it's a lot of fun. Good to be back on 2 wheels. In addition to that bike, I've also been finally getting around to working on a 1971 Triumph T25T Trailblazer. I bought it. A friend of mine and I drove to southern Indiana in 2013. It was probably like May or June of 2013 to pick up this bike that I found on Craigslist. And we drove all the way there, met the guy. I went to the title office with him. He was nice enough to do that and help me get a title for the bike. And so we were able to do that, and I brought it back, and I had all these plans for it. But then, life happened and stuff like that, and I never got around to actually trying to get the bike running. So 5 years later, finally, my dad and I have been working on the bike, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm learning a lot. My dad's actually learning a lot. He's been working on Triumphs for, probably since, I don't know, the 60s or something, the 60s or 70s. And he definitely has worked on a ton of bikes, but they've all been like 650s, 750s, 500s, twins and triples. This is the first time, he said this is the first time he's ever worked on like a Triumph 250 or any of the singles. He's just never had the opportunity to mess with any of them. And it's funny because he has a couple of his own that he owns, but they need rebuilt also, and he's never gotten around to it. So he's looking at it from the perspective of, this is the kind of thing that's going to help him get some learning experience for when he tears into the ones that he has. So he's having a blast. I'm having a blast. We're having a great time together. The last couple times that I hung out with my dad have been probably 2 of my favorite times I've ever hung out with my dad. We've been close my whole adult life, especially, and even as a kid, I was close to him. But the last couple times, there's some extra feeling there where we're really appreciating the time we're getting together. And when my brother passed away in 2012, that was really hard on my dad. Obviously, it was hard on all of us, but my dad took it particularly hard. And ever since then, he has definitely been more sentimental and introspective when it comes to spending time with me or my sister. I think that he really hates the fact that my brother isn't here, and obviously he misses him. And there's things that I do with my dad that I probably would have been doing with my dad and my brother. Stuff like, hanging out at the bike shop or going to a swap meet or something like that. Those are things that, we talked yesterday. I just hung out with my dad yesterday. We went to Vintage Motorcycle Days in Lexington, Ohio. It was a great time. We went and got some stuff at the swap meet. Just had a good visit. Good time. But anyway, we were reminiscing a little bit about a time in probably 1990. My dad had a full-size school bus that he had bought from my uncle, who owned it because he had a band and needed something to get around with and stuff like that. And so my dad bought this school bus from him, and it didn't have any seats in it. It had like maybe one seat up toward the front, maybe two, but that's it. Just everything else was just open. And we used to use it a little bit to camp in, and we would take it to, if we were going to like Cedar Point or something, I think we took it one year and camped in it and hung out there. And, it was just cool to have. My dad just enjoyed having something he could haul things in. And we would take our dirt bikes, me, my brother, my dad, my cousin, we'd throw our dirt bikes in there, strap them down, and then go to places and ride and stuff like that. It was a cool thing to have. And we took it up to this Vintage Motorcycle Days in, like I said, probably 1990, 91, 92, somewhere around in there. I was really young. And, it could have been 93 or 94 even, I'm not real sure, but early 90s. And we went up to this swap meet, and my dad didn't have a lot of money anyway, but it was me, my dad, and my brother, and it costs a lot of money to get in Vintage Motorcycle Days. For us, for some people paying, I don't know what it cost back then, but like yesterday we went and it was $45 a person to get in. Now, for a lot of people, they're paying for the event. They're paying to watch vintage motorcycle racing on the track. They're paying to watch vintage dirt racing on the dirt track. They're paying to go to the infield where they have a big bike show, and there's different seminars going on and different things. There's a lot to do at Vintage Motorcycle Days, but we don't get into any of that. We paid $45 a person so we could go to the swap meet. We're basically paying $45 a guy to go to a flea market. And so, it's worth it because we're paying for, I guess, access to stuff that we can't find just anywhere. Some of it is, available online and things like that. But there's a lot of little, trinkets and stuff, little things, like shifter rubbers and stuff like that. That, if you bought all of that stuff online and paid for shipping and all that stuff, you're going to be broke by the time you get your bike built. So you can find stuff like that at Vintage Motorcycle Days in a box that says like, $1 a piece or, whatever. So it's worth it to us to go. And it's, like I said, it's not just about going to the event. It's about hanging out with somebody. I wouldn't pay that money to go there by myself, but I would pay that money to hang out with my dad anytime. Any day of the week, if my dad said, hey, you want to hang out, it's going to be $45, I'd pay it because my dad's awesome and I love him. So anyway, we went, and the point was that back in the day we went, my dad had to pay for him, me, and my brother. He had to pay for all three of us to go. And then, once we got in there, we're hungry, we have to eat, and food's not cheap in there. And I think by the time we ate and paid to get in, my dad said he had like $30 to actually go around the swap meet and shop with, which is nothing, but he was able to buy some stuff, and he was talking about that. But the biggest reason we were remembering it is that because we had that big empty school bus, we stayed till the end of the swap meet. And what happens is, people will load up a truck, vendors will load up a vehicle, and they'll go to the swap meet and they'll set up to sell their stuff. But while they're there, they'll also sometimes buy stuff. And what ends up happening to them is they buy something and they don't have room for it. So they have to try their best to sell something big to make room for it. And worst case scenario, they're not going to leave behind the thing they just bought, so they'll leave behind something they brought there. And what happens is at the end, you look at this big field and there's just bike parts everywhere. There's, people have frames and wheels and gas tanks and all kinds of stuff just laying around. Leaning up against the telephone pole, leaning up against the fence, leaned up against garbage cans, just everywhere. And we went around with that big ass school bus, and me and my brother and my dad loaded that thing from front to back with motorcycle parts. Now granted, hardly any of it was anything that we cared about. You know, it wasn't like we were into British stuff, Triumph, BSA, stuff like that. It was none of that. But it was just so fun. Like for me and my brother, who were both really young, and we didn't really grasp the concept of like why somebody would leave something behind. You know, for us growing up, it was kind of ingrained in us to value the things that we have and value the time that we have accumulating things. And you know, if you take the effort to do something, do it right, and that means, you know, you don't just give up and leave something behind. We didn't understand the concept that, you know, maybe they bought another bike while they were there and they don't have room for this frame, so they leave it behind because the frame might be worth $100, but the bike they just bought was worth $1,000. So they take the frame and they throw it out by the side, or maybe it's something they've carried to the swap meet for the last time and it doesn't sell, and you know, maybe they just don't have a buyer for it. You know, it's a frame that fits something someone doesn't need a frame for. It happens. So they just leave it. Well, for us, it was fun. It was almost like, I don't know, it was like we were getting away with something, you know, because we were like picking up all this trash. But we filled that bus up front to back with all kinds of bikes, and we had a blast. And then it was really funny. On the way back, we stopped at a Wendy's, and we parked around the back of the Wendy's, and me, my brother, and my dad walk in. There's just the three of us, and we could see everyone in the Wendy's just going crazy. They're running around, they're yelling stuff to each other. You know, they're obviously in like full-on game mode. You know, it is game time. They have lots of work to do, and we're looking around and like there's only like maybe one or two other people in the Wendy's. There really wasn't anybody in the drive-thru. We're just trying to we're sort of stumped, like why does it seem like, you know, they're just going mad running around, and we don't really think about it at first. And then we go up to order, and the lady says, "Oh, you lucked out because there's a bus that just pulled in, so you're gonna get your food before they get in here." And it dawned on us that they were in a frenzy because they saw a bus pull in, and they just started dropping French fries and throwing burgers on the griddle, and you know, they're just going all out, making sure that they can handle a bus. And we just didn't have the heart to tell them that it was just us. So we just kind of ordered our food, and you know, we sat down and ate and just kind of watched as they were sort of just anticipating. You know, like they're all ready to go now. They've got the burgers on the grill. They've got the French fries in the fryer, and they are positioned and ready to do everything they need to do to take care of, you know, between 30 and 50 people or whatever. And just, you know, the wave never comes because it's just us. And so that's something that we've laughed about forever. And you know, it's just one of those little things, like that's not like a huge big moment in a life, you know, but because it was with my dad and brother, it was special. And you know, because my brother's gone, we won't ever make another memory like that, ever. You know, it's impossible. So being able to sit around with my dad and talk about stuff like that is just awesome. And to be able to remember my brother that way, and talk about good times that we had, and not be you know, sad or down about it, but just sort of like, you know, celebrating the times that we were able to be together, and be able to, you know, have an experience worth remembering, you know, almost 30 years later. You know, I really cherish that. It means something to me to be able to cherish that. So anyway, great time with my dad. You know, we used my phone to get there on the GPS or whatever, and it took us some weird back way, and I wouldn't say we were lost at all, but it just took us a way back, weird way. And then when we left, it did the same thing. We ended up on some weird back road, and we ended up on instead of taking the interstate, which is what my intentions were, we ended up on some, back Ohio State route or whatever, some twisty, turny back road for like 45 miles. But, it was a good time. We had a lot of good talk, and we didn't really, there wasn't a lot of silence, we didn't listen to the radio and stuff, we just talked, and it was awesome. My dad, obviously you've never met my dad, but he's just fantastic. He's got such a good heart, and he knows a lot of stuff, and he's done a lot of stuff, and he has a lot of knowledge to pick out of his brain, and he has a lot of good perspectives on things, and I just love him to death. I love talking to him. Everybody loves my dad. Everybody that meets him just thinks he's the greatest, and he is. And he's definitely a one-of-a-kind dude, and I love that I'm able to be so close with him, and we're working on bikes and stuff. That's just awesome. I love to be in the shop with him. He's got so much knowledge, and even though he didn't have all this experience working with these 250s and stuff, he is such a good mechanical mind that he can just figure it out. He can figure out how it works, and then his eyes light up, and he's sort of impressed by the things that were done on this engine that were a little bit different than the things that are done on all the engines that he's worked on. And I'm not a good mechanic at all. I'm more like let me hold this for you, let me get that tool for you, let me shine the light. I'm that guy. But like I said, it's more about just the experience of hanging out with my dad and stuff. So we're having a blast. Hopefully this bike's going to be on the road soon. I'll definitely make a video of it if it does get put together sometime soon. And yeah, just a lot of good stuff. And eventually I'll get back to playing music, but my life goes in these cycles. I'm really into hockey, I'm really into motorcycles, and I'm really into music. And for whatever reason, those three things just sort of churn, like a big wheel. So right now, the part that's seeing the light is the motorcycle thing, and before that it was the hockey thing, and before that it was the music thing. So I would assume that the music thing is on the horizon, and hopefully I'll be back to playing soon.